welcome to my May book recap in a new location because we are moving and I've kind of moved temporarily and then I'll move again, but Brady's moving. It's confusing. It's a whole thing, but it's also part of the reason that I haven't read many books this month. We're at the current present moment 5 books. I'm hoping to finish a 6th book before the actual end of the month, and you'll know if I do, don't worry. But right now we're at 5 books for the month, which is a little not great. It's like half of what I read in my highest reading month was February. Literally the shortest month of the year has been my highest reading month, which doesn't make sense. What was going on in February? What happened in February that I read so many books?
You were really bored at work, allegedly.
Allegedly. I can't know.
Anymore, kind of.
Also, while we've been packing up our whole apartment, we've also hung out with friends way more in the past like week and a half, 2 weeks than in the past like year, if we're being real honest here. So it's been really good. However, I've not been reading as much. I also haven't listened to audiobooks as much, which I think helped me like last month and the month before that. I also, at the beginning of the month, was still fighting my Sunrise on the Reaping slump, and I'd honestly say I'm not fully out of it. I have not been like cruising through books the same way that I did before Sunrise on the Reaping. That book both like made and ruined my life. My first book that I finished was No Way Home by Jodie Feldman, and it was this girl from the United States was an exchange student in Italy, and so the Italian girl was in the United States, so they were staying with each other's parents. So the main character is the American girl that's in Italy, and she doesn't know how she got accepted into this program because like she can barely speak Italian. She kind of lied on her application. And so she's with this Italian family and she understands like the smallest amount of Italian. So I was starting to get really annoyed in the beginning because there was so much Italian and I don't speak Italian. And it was like they weren't translating things, but I think the point was to like kind of feel how she was feeling in Italy would be my guess as to why it was like that. But there was so much Italian and I was starting to get so done with it because the book hadn't like pulled me in yet. And then after like 50 pages, something happened and I was like immediately hooked. And I wanted to keep reading. I actually think I read this book fairly quickly once I started it. It got a bit, I was expecting more murder mystery and it got a bit more treasure hunt-y, which like looking back on it and reading the description on the back of the book, like that makes a lot of sense. And you also know about things, like the back of the book says things that don't happen for like 75 pages. Like you get a good way through the book before stuff happens. So it's, I don't know, it's not really like a spoiler because it literally says it on the back of the book, but like the family actually speaks perfect English, but like they don't start doing that until like over 50 pages in, which was a bit crazy because it wasn't that long of a book. I want to say it was like my guess is 324. I don't know why that number popped into my head, but now I have to know. 352, I was not correct, but close. Yeah, I gave a book 4 stars because it was pretty good and it was like finally a book that I was like somewhat excited about after reading Sunrise on the Reaping, because I also was like taking forever to get through my next book and just like was not vibing. So it was nice to have a book that I somewhat enjoyed, and I thought this was going to pull me out of my slump, but it, in fact, did not. I think if it was less treasure hunt and more like murder mystery, maybe. I gave it 4 stars, but like looking back, I don't know, I wouldn't like recommend this book, but like if someone was like, oh, I really want to read that book, I'd be like, yeah, definitely do it, but I wouldn't necessarily tell someone to read it. Unless they like treasure hunt books, and then absolutely, this is exactly the book for you. It was a YA book, and like, I normally really like YA books, and like, I did like it. It just like, you could tell that it wasn't, like, you could tell who the target audience is. Like, Hunger Games is a YA dystopian novel, but like, anyone can read and love Hunger Games, but not this book. Oh, also, I don't have any of my books because they're all packed in banana boxes in a pod on their way to Texas. So the next book I read, how many days did it take? Brady was sick and tired of this book because I kept complaining about it. It took me, I started this book on April 21st and I didn't finish it until May 5th. So I kind of hated this book for so long while I was reading it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's Us Against You by Fredrik Backman. For the first like 250 pages, I think this book had like 450-ish. For the first like 250 pages, I despised the existence of this book. I don't know why I kept reading. I like had just DNF'd a book, and so I didn't want to DNF this as well. because it like literally was the book that I had read just before it. It was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and I just couldn't do it. And I had just DNF'd that, and so I didn't want to DNF this as well. And so I like fought for my life to get through this book. At about 60% through, I finally started to enjoy it. I also just didn't know what the plot was for the longest time. Like, the Beartown series is kind of one of those like fiction books where it's like you really have to like the characters because you're following the characters. And like it's their life, so things happen, but there's not like this is the big plot point. But like in Beartown, like you get about halfway through and something crazy happens, and then that is the point of the story, the next like half of the book. Even for the first half of the book, it's like very much like setting up the characters and you're living their life with them, and like you can kind of see how like you feel like something's gonna happen. But like with this one, I just like wasn't really sure what the point of like what the plot was or what characters were actually important. Like I felt like I figured out the important Beartown characters pretty early on, but I couldn't figure out the important Aussie and Sue characters. But then about 60% through the book, which is way too late in my opinion, it got really good. I ended up crying on the plane as I was reading on our flight home from Dallas, but I like also cried in the airport. So like the book got to me by the end. Like the last like quarter of it was really, really good. And the last quarter of it, for like most of the book, I was like, I'm absolutely not reading the third book. I like cannot stand this book. I hate the fact that I'm reading this book. I need to put it down. But the last quarter of the book kind of made me want to read the third book. I don't own it. I'm not buying it anytime soon. Maybe in the future I'll read it. I'm not fully writing it off. Will take like forever to get through it because the third book, I think it's called The Winners, is like, I think it's like 600 or 700 pages. And if Us Against You was that long, I could not do it. I would have had to DNF it. I really liked Beartown though. I really did enjoy Beartown. I just guess I wasn't a fan of this one. But if you're... Oh, Ren, hi! Ren brought me his birthday cake. Here you go. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're so gentle. The third book I read this month was Love Mom by Ileana Zander. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like I liked this book more than No Way Home, so maybe I'll have to go through and adjust my ratings because I think I like this book better. But this is a book that...
Red!
Happy birthday! My Grammy got him the birthday cake toy that I just showed you for his birthday. And instead of a squeaker, it plays Happy Birthday. But it plays it twice, and you can hear it, and it's clearly high-pitched and horrible. And so Ren will squeeze the toy to make the sound, and then he'll get so mad at it because it's making such a horrible noise. And then he'll like throw it off the couch. Okay, so the premise of Love Mom is this girl has a famous mother. I think she was an author. And so, but she didn't have a good relationship with her mom, and so I don't think most of the family liked this mom either. At the funeral, like, no one was crying, whatever. Like, all of her fans were, like, outside, like, sobbing, like... But yeah, everyone loved the mom. And the girl she just left the funeral, like, she was over it. And when she gets in her car, there's a letter. And, like, the envelope, it's, like, XOXO #1 fan. And when she opens it, it's a letter from a page from the mom's diary. So she gets to read a little bit of it, and then she's kind of like, what the heck, like, where did this come from? And then she keeps getting pieces of the mom's diary from #1 fan, whoever that is. The things that are also revealed in these letters are, like, kind of crazy. So the letters are the catalyst of, like, the mystery she's trying to solve, and as she learns more about her mom, the less she actually knows, kind of thing. So her and her best friend are trying to solve this mystery. I'm not going to even say what knowing what the mystery is part of like the story and reading the book. I feel like this isn't like one of those ones where you like know what they're trying to say, like, oh, someone was murdered, whatever, but like the mystery of the mother's death and just like the mother as a whole is what's kind of crazy. For the most part, this book was really good. There was one point where it like was starting to feel a bit realistic. It was like, oh, this person got drugged and this person got drugged, and it was like, okay, we're starting to become a little bit unrealistic here. Like this, like it just felt like such an out there thing, and like you didn't know the characters that this involved super well, but like it just felt out of character, even like not knowing their full story, or just felt like unrealistic of like if all of this was actually happening. I don't think that would have happened, but like maybe, I don't know. But there was just a brief moment where I felt that, and then it like quickly reined itself back in, and up until the last chapter if we ignore the last chapter, I loved the ending. The ending was so good. The last chapter is where you finally figure out who is the #1 fan, and I absolutely hated it. My first thought when I was reading it was like, oh, this feels such like a cop-out, like this is just like a last minute, like, oh no, we never solved that mystery. But then as I was thinking about it, like throughout the whole book, like there are so many, not so many clues, but like this character is throughout the whole book, and so like you could have figured it out. It's not like some random person that they made up. It was just like the author forgot to solve the mystery and so did it at the end, but I don't think that was the case at all. I think I just didn't like who it was. I also had like my own guesses and I just was not correct at all. So maybe that was part of my problem, was I thought I'd be right and I wasn't. Okay, so I've been refusing to read Throne of Glass because it's like 8 books I think, and I just didn't want to start a series that was that long. I just didn't really want to start a series. I've been liking reading not series books. So instead I decided to start the first book of a 23 book series, not realizing I read The Awakening, the first Zodiac Academy book, and oh my god, I stayed up until 2:30 in the morning reading it one night. Like, I was hooked on this book immediately. It's not the world's best writing by any means, but it just was so fun, and it was like giving like adult Harry Potter. I also like absolutely love the magic system so much. Like, you learn about the magic system as the main characters do, so you're not like jumping into, that's my least favorite part about fantasy books, is I don't know how this magic system works, but the main character does, and so does everybody else, and so you're just kind of like jumping in, and like the author has to explain it, and they normally do, but I like when you learn about the magic system with the main characters, because then you're confused when they're confused, you understand things that they understand. Sometimes when they're confused you understand because you actually use critical thinking skills and ask questions. Why do main characters not ask questions? That's a rant for a different day. But yeah, I really like this. On the back of the book, like the last thing that it says is like, why couldn't I have gotten my Hogwarts letter? So like the authors themselves kind of compared their book to Harry Potter, but I don't know if that was a bad thing. There's explanations of where magic comes from and how different people or different fae replenish their magic, and just like, I feel like I don't have questions about the magic system. Do you? You feel like you're the biggest critic of magic systems. Like, rightfully so, but like you ask all the good questions.
As far as magic systems go, it walks a good line of being concrete enough that you have a good gauge of like how people's powers compare, versus Harry Potter specifically is just like, oh, he's a powerful wizard, but it seems like all the wizards can kind of just cast the same spells and have access to the same shit. Like, there's no actual difference. In here, it's very clear, like, okay, this person is better because they can keep better spell form, they can do this, they can do this, and at the end of the day, if they fight, this person will just overpower the other at a base level. One thing that I don't like is that, so you'd think that they would prioritize using whatever elements the other person doesn't have, or they can use to cancel out the other person's, you'd be able to overpower.
Right. Like if someone who had air, if someone who had air and wind, and the other person has wind and fire, like you would, fire and water are gonna, like they're gonna cancel each other out, like.
Yeah, or at least for these two girls specifically, they're not using any kind of strategy when they're fighting, which I don't know if it's just because they're still early on and figuring things out, and I get that, but also like they're able to overcome people that are much stronger than them or should be much stronger than them because they're at a base level more powerful.
Yeah.
Which
I feel like not so much in the first book, but in the second book you kind of get a bit more of them like actually working on
their magic, and like they also don't go into a lot of detail about how they train it. Specifically, like, it sounds like it's mostly just, but at the same time, I am a big nerd for knowing every piece of possible information about how this works, because I think it's fun.
I like that I can't remember what book it's in. Okay, so also with these books is like, it's not like in Harry Potter, each book is a year, which is, that works for that, but like this, like, you just get through part of like, I'm only halfway through book 2, but like, it reads like it's one big giant book. Like, exactly where book 1 ends is where book 2 starts. It's like, was it the same way between book 2 and book 3? Where it's like exactly where book 2 ends is where book 3 continues?
Yes.
Yeah. So it like, I'm like halfway through book 2. I haven't even gotten through a full year of school. So like, kind of like, is just one big like massive book that's broken up into different books, if that makes sense. So I'm having trouble remembering if this is book 2 or book 1, but like there's one point where like someone helps someone else with magic, and so like you kind of get a bit more about like working on the control, but like, yeah, no, you don't get exact details of how they control it, but I feel like you get a lot more details than some other books.
Yeah, it gives more information about a magic system than Harry Potter does, but it's not as nitty gritty as like an RPG or something like that might be about it.
General concept of Zodiac Academy, you have the different elements, air, fire, earth, water, but then you also have like they're fae, everyone is fae, and so they have different orders, so like vampire, werewolf, like so many, I can't even like begin to try to name them all. They don't even try to name them all. So different fae, like different orders. It doesn't matter what your like one of the 4 like elements are. Your order is how you replenish your magic, but we don't know what the main characters, what their order is yet. So it's like weird that they haven't had to replenish magic yet, right? Like that's weird. Or maybe they are replenishing magic and they just don't know how they're doing it. I so badly, you need to make this for me because you've read more than me. And you can probably, no, I don't want you to Google things and spoil it for you either. Okay, like in Fourth Wing, where they have, Rebecca Yarros like put like, oh, this person is this section leader and this wing leader, like whatever. And then they put like all the other like people in the different like wings. I need that. But for this book, and I want a flowchart. I want a flowchart, and I want their name. I want their name. I want what elemental magic they have, and I want their order. And then, actually, I think I can kind of keep track of how different orders replenish their magic. So I don't need that. But I just want every character. I want their name. I want their, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I need. Okay, so I gave Zodiac Academy book 1 4 stars. I am like 70% through book 2, so that's the book that I'm hoping I'll finish again before the end of this month. I will let you know if I get there. If you don't hear back from me, then I didn't finish it, and I will finish it next month. But my plan is to try to finish it this month. Also read book 3, but that will probably be in June. And then when we start driving to Dallas, we can listen, because I did plenty of research of this on TikTok. So you're supposed to read Zodiac Academy books 1 through 3, and then apparently book 3 ends on like the biggest cliffhanger, so putting it down and not starting book 4 is super challenging. But you're supposed to stop book 3, and then you're supposed to switch over to the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac Academy. No, it's just the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series, and that has 5 books. So you're supposed to read all 5 of those books. It takes place 5 years before Zodiac Academy, so it's completely different characters. It's like reading a different series. And then you come back to Zodiac Academy book 4. And then in book 4 and 5, and I think in 4 through 9 you meet those characters. So if you don't read Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac before you start book 4, you get spoilers for that series. And also you don't have the same background and like attachment to the characters from Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. So I think Brady's plan is to stop after book 3, read a couple of his other books, and I can try to catch up before we leave for our road trip. And then on our road trip, because we'll have 2 12-hour days, I think is our plan right now, we can start listening to that as an audiobook and like listen together, and that'll be fun. I saw somewhere that I should read Zodiac Academy Origins of an Academy Bully, which is book 0.5 after Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, but I don't know how important it is to read the novellas, and like in a series this big, I'm kind of a fan of skip the novellas unless they're like essential. So if anyone has any advice on that. I've seen various things on TikTok and I don't know whose opinions to trust. But that's that. So maybe we'll finish book 2 this month. Maybe not. I've been listening to this last book as an audiobook, Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Going into this book, I didn't really know what it was about. All I knew was that it was really hyped up, and I saw a lot of people saying that it was overhyped. So I kind of went into it with like low expectations. It was fun. Like through most of the book, it was pretty fine. Like it wasn't anything crazy. Like I was interested. The last like hour of the audiobook, I'm listening on 1.4 speed, so it'll be different based on the speed you're listening to. But the last like hour of the audiobook, I got like really invested, and then the last like 25 minutes, what chapter would that be? Like starting in like chapter 52, 53 area of, there's 56 chapters, a 1 year later, and then chapter 57. So around 50, like 2, 53, 54-ish, the ending starts getting crazy. I was making breakfast and I literally was standing there with my mouth wide open because of something that you find out right at the very end. So ending was great, but the rest of the book was like kind of like, I don't know, kind of like fine, average. Giving this book 3.5 stars, I think. It definitely was way overhyped on TikTok. I think people were way more excited for it than the book was actually good. I don't know, what else did Alice Feeney write other things? Is that why it was so hyped? Or was, okay, she has, have I read any of, no. She has some other books. Daisy Darker is one of her books, and that looks very familiar, but I definitely haven't read it. So I just wonder if maybe her other books were super good, and that's why everyone was hyped for Beautiful Ugly. I think it might have also been a book of the month book at one point, but I'm not sure. The cover is really pretty. I don't know, I feel like I haven't loved anything in a while. Zodiac Academy is fun. Zodiac Academy I'm definitely really vibing with and enjoyed the first one a lot. I hadn't been up that late. Like I hadn't intentionally stayed up that late to read in a very, very long time. But I'm just ruined by Sunrise on the Reaping. Like nothing has hit like Sunrise on the Reaping has hit. I need to get out of my slump. I need to do something to get out of this. I need to read something good. He's such a baby. That's my fairly short May book recap. My favorite book of the month, I'd say the first Zodiac Academy book, The Awakening. We're gonna have Ren pick a book, but the problem is I don't have any of these books with me and I also don't have paper. So I do have other books. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give him this other stack of books and he's going to pick and they're gonna not be what they are. So this one's purple. So this is gonna represent Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. This is, I mean, okay, the rest of these are also fantasy, but this is like big fantasy. So this is gonna represent Zodiac Academy. This is gonna be No Way Home, and this is gonna be Love Mom. And we're gonna see if I remember that after I make Ren pick. So let me set these out for Ren and we'll let him pick. Beautiful Ugly will be represented by my phone because it's an audiobook. So my favorite, Zodiac Academy. Here's Ren's favorite. Okay, so we have to bribe him with some cheese. I'm gonna just put a piece of cheese, some on the ground. Ren, come get the cheese. Come here. Yeah, come get the cheese. Here you go. Can you pick a book? Get the cheese. Pick a book, bud. So yeah, Ren doesn't really care about any of these books, and to be honest, I don't blame him. So Ren doesn't have a favorite of the month, which is a little sad, but it's okay. I don't blame him, to be honest with you. We'll see what he says next month.